What is going on, everybody? This is David Greenspan. I want to welcome you back to Season 4 of the Mindshare podcast. Additional podcasts are available at mindshare101.com and on all the major podcast platforms. This week's episode is sponsored by Kits Keep In Touch Systems and the Buzz Conference. Now, if you're not already, make sure you hit up the Buzz Conference at the Buzz Conference on Instagram, as well as their website, www.thebuzzconference.com, and make sure you are keeping tabs on all the awesome events that they are always hosting, including getting tickets for next week's Recharge 2022, taking place live in person with real people, in person with people at an event here in Canada. We're super, super pumped. Can you tell I'm excited about this? This is going to be an amazing event. We've got an amazing lineup of speakers. We've got some awesome people that are going to be there networking. There's going to be trade show booths. This is going to be a full-on real estate conference, which we haven't seen in a long time. I will be there in person as well, on stage, talking about how to own your audience. I am super pumped about this session. It's going to be loaded. I'm not going to tell you much more about it, but I want you to join us. Recharge 2022. Visit thebuzzconference.com. Don't do it right now. Wait till this episode's over, but go get those tickets, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Also, when was the last time that you checked out the Kits Cross-Channel Marketing Suite? This is your full-on marketing tool set starting with Loop CRM to help keep you organized. The most personalized and effective direct mail newsletters the money can buy. It's got email newsletters, social media content, websites, landing pages, action plans, and so much more, all in place to help keep you organized, building your business, driving a lot more referrals, building the mind share so you can get more market share. So again, make sure you go to my website, mindshare101.com, and click on marketing. Now, as you know, we are on a push to get 100 reviews for this podcast. And I'd like to ask you, if you haven't yet, please take a moment, and this one you can do right now if you want to, but then make sure you come back and join us. RateThisPodcast.com/mindshare101. Please go on over there. Give us a big 5 stars. Give us 6 if you can. Leave us a nice little review. Tell us how much you love the show and all the awesome guests that we are so fortunate to have join us. But on a serious note, thank you in advance. It means a lot to us. Today's episode, number 173. He is a real estate consultant and top producer and realtor with over 20 years of experience in the real estate industry. His marketing has been featured cover story in Crain's Chicago Business, highlighted in Forbes and Fox News Chicago Business Hour. He is also the author of the books Luxury Listing Specialist, Outside the Box, and Marketing Luxury. Throughout his career, he has learned the importance of high caliber marketing versus traditional marketing, which has become pivotal to his success. Over the past 20 years, he and his team have developed a method that takes a more comprehensive and proactive approach when positioning and marketing a home. He is the founder of the Marketing Luxury Group, which has been recognized as the best property consulting marketing in 2018 by the International Property Awards. He has also created the nationally recognized luxury designation for real estate agents, which is known as Luxury Listing Specialist, Lux. This designation establishes an in-depth and detailed set of standards for agents that represent luxury homes. This week on the show, I am joined by top producer and realtor and founder of the Marketing Luxury Group, Michael LaFido. Michael, welcome to the Mindshare podcast.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for making the time. It's definitely good to see you again, my man. How are things? What's happening in your world right now? You're in Chicago right now, right?
Yeah, Chicago suburbs.
Talk to me, man. What's going on? How's the market out there?
It's great to see you, and we're staying busy. It's a shortage of inventory. Market's hot, and I'm staying busy doing our trainings as well. So it's definitely not a slow time.
Yeah, that's good, man. So inventory is short. People are still moving. Things are happening.
Yeah, inventory's pretty low right now, and it's been like that, like a lot of major cities in the United States since the pandemic. We got a lot of people that have moved out of the city and looking to the burbs, and it's no different in Chicago than perhaps some other major cities.
Yeah. You know what? It's interesting because I know up here north of the border right now, we've seen a quarter point interest rate hike, which is obviously nothing earth shattering just yet, but it is poised to go up probably by about a point to a point and a half over the next kind of 12 months. So we are seeing a little bit of a rise in rates. We've seen that inventory is still incredibly low. However, we are getting back to this whole idea of putting conditions in and actually potentially negotiating deals, as opposed to being fearful of those conditions, going, you're going to lose the deal if you do that. So that's definitely been a big change. I think the market's taking a breath at the moment. Really, I don't know that this is a long term outlook to negativity of the market, but like anybody else, we can make predictions, but only time will tell.
Yeah, yeah. No,
You
you're
know,
absolutely right. I mean, at the end of the day, we still have historically low rates, and life is what drives real estate, right? People
yeah.
relocate, people move up, people downsize. Unfortunately, people get divorced, people die. That's what drives the housing market, right? It's not, you know, not just interest rates. Who's the president or who's the prime minister? These are all outside influences, but ultimately, life is what drives real estate.
You threw me off when you said outside influences from both of those guys. It's sad about the influences they're making right now, but I digress. We'll keep this to business today. Uh, tell me this, man. Over 20 years in the business, I want to go way back in time when Michael first started in real estate. Okay. And I want to know, what did you do to get your first deal? And did it come from somebody or somebody you didn't know?
Yeah. So again, my story is perhaps similar to a lot of people watching this is, I wasn't full-time real estate starting out. I had a full-time other job. I was a teacher. I was a high school health and physical education teacher, and I was a part-time real estate agent. Got my license thinking if I sell one or two homes a year, that'd be the equivalency of coaching a couple sports, perhaps. And I was young, single at the time, and my first listing was uh, was a little condo, and it was a little one-bedroom condo, which I ended up selling for $80,000. But it was somebody that basically threw me a bone. I played basketball with him. It was an investment property that he bought for his daughter, and he knew it was my first listing. He knew I was, fresh new to real estate, but he liked me. And it was kind of like, I use the analogy, when you go to a restaurant and the waiter or waitress comes up and they have somebody that's kind of mirroring them, right? They're learning the business, they're learning the menu, they're learning the ins and outs of being a waiter or waitress. And I had that, right? So I had somebody that went on that appointment with me. I'm sure I was shaking as I was filling out that paperwork, but Robin Vanderveer was my mentor, and she helped me, and and I didn't, I don't know if I was up against anybody, if he threw me a bone, but it definitely was helpful to have that mentor at the time.
Interesting. So, yeah, somebody that was actually helping guide you. And, it's funny you bring that up, or it's interesting. Maybe it's just normal that you bring that up. I don't know. I guess you could say every one of the above. But, where I go with that is that, you know, we talk a lot about the importance of building up your contact list, right? And in any business, but especially when you're in sales. And then I'm going to go real specific to our niche, which is real estate, obviously. We've got to have a contact list, right? We've got to have people that are in a database that we're staying in touch with on a regular basis, because right there is where that book of business comes from. And I've always been a real proponent of saying to everybody, look, as you're in the business today, be sure you build the database, because one, you never know when you decide to get out of the business, and that database can be an exit strategy. But when it's time to get out and you haven't built it the entire time, to just think to yourself that you're just going to pick up now and say, okay, it's time to get out of the business. Now I'm going to go ahead and, start to build up my contact list so I can sell that. Well, you're way too far down the road. You're not going to remember all the relationships you built up. You're not going to remember everybody that you had met over time. You're not going to be able to take that and sell it to somebody and say, look, I got a business for you. Michael, you're getting into the business. Come and work with me. I'm going to teach you everything. I'm going to introduce you to everybody, and you're going to have a business at some point. And this is a pension plan for the person getting out.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, you have an asset that is more attractive, more valuable than if it's losing losing momentum, right? I mean, a body in motion stays in motion, and you
Yep.
got to be organized. And I teach real estate agents, tell real estate agents, don't think like a real estate agent, think like a marketer, right? So in the United States, where I'm based, there's 1.55 million realtors. Everybody knows a real estate agent. So what are you doing to stand out, to be memorable, to differentiate yourself from the competition?
That's the big question. So let's talk about that then when we talk about, and I love that, think like a marketer. Um, maybe not even like a salesperson at all because it's a relationship business, right?
Yeah.
But let's look at that then. When we think about, what you were doing in the past to grow your business and what we were doing, say, 20 years ago to grow the business to what we're doing today to grow the business, right? Specific to marketing, what are some of the big changes we've seen since you first got in to kind of, where we're at today? And in that same breath, Mike, are there big changes that have happened? Like we know there's a lot of tech and a lot of bright shiny objects, but I'm going like the actual way that you get business and the things that we did back then to what we do today. Are there major changes to that? Is there a lot of the same kind of stuff? And I mean that in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, so I think yes and yes to your question. I think yes, there's a lot of the same fundamental aspects. To use a football analogy, blocking and tackling. There's a lot of the same fundamentals in real estate, right? Is building relationships, right? People. This is a people-based business. People want to do business with someone they like and they trust, and so that was the same in 2000 when I got licensed as it is today in 2022. But some things that are a little bit different is because of social media that wasn't around back then and video wasn't around. You can position yourself and break into, in my case, I teach agents how to sell more high-end and luxury homes, and David, you could break into and sell more high-end homes. You can position yourself as a leading authority because of big tech and social media and video today, more so than previously. Now, with that being said, sometimes it's smoke and mirrors. Some people look the part, but they don't have any substance. They don't have the experience. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the database. But I look at in the United States, gas prices are so high, and right, everybody wants, the current administration wants to blame it on Russia. Others want to say no, there's things from our current administration and the Biden administration as to why gas prices were going up before Ukraine and Russia invasion. But the White House literally brought in Instagram influencers, people that have hundreds of thousands of people, to kind of push the narrative that, hey, Russia's to blame because of high taxes. Don't blame the current administration. And the lesson that's learned there is you got some 18-year-old that's got no political background, has no knowledge of gas prices and what goes into, how prices are today. But she's reading a script, pushing a narrative, and the White House is leveraging that because they understand that, especially a younger generation, they're more easily influenced. And so today's younger buyers, younger sellers in their 20s or 30s, they are more easily influenced because of social media or big or things that you see in videos. So I think that is new compared to, when I was licensed, some 20 years ago.
Yeah, you know what? That definitely, obviously, the video and the social influence was not around 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
No, it wasn't. Not like literally 20. To that though, we see that as a piece of what we do, right? It's part of what we do from a marketing perspective to be, getting out there building mindshare, as we like to call it. So what would you look at today then if we said like, you know, what are some of the most effective things that you believe that realtors should be doing then to grow their business on a regular basis? And again, we're thinking like a marketer right now.
Yeah, so there's no one simple answer. It's a multiple things of things they need to do. I like to use the term SWOT analysis.
Mhm.
So uh, you got to tell your story. So whatever your story, it starts with your story, right? Your bio, your story, not a made up story, but what brings you to where you are today. So for me, I was a former high school teacher and football coach, and run 11 marathons, and nothing ever came easy for me. I played college football and had a scholarship, and that experience of just earning a scholarship when most athletes are recruited, and I had to send my tapes in and basically prospect this college why they wanted to hire me. It got me prepared for sales and marketing and to where we are today. So we all have our story. Some people are embarrassed by their story, but we all have what I call from mess to success, right? So we've all had turbulence, and we got to use a wrestling analogy, pull ourselves off the mat and get back in the ring, so to speak. So you got to help craft your story. When I say craft, I mean tell it and articulate it in a way no different than Coors Light versus Bud Light or Miller Light, using American beers.
Now you're
Coors
talking
Light,
my language. Let's
yeah,
go.
yeah, Coors Light, Coors Light talks a lot about their process and how the water comes from the Rocky Mountains, and it sounds great, but their process is pretty much the same as Bud Light or Miller Light. But if you can craft your story and tell it and articulate it in a way with some great stories or great examples or case studies or great visuals, you'll resonate with more people. But getting back to that SWOT analysis, is people are going to Google you. They're going to look you up. They're going to look you up on LinkedIn and maybe Instagram and maybe TikTok, but definitely, Facebook and maybe YouTube and your website, right? And so you are your brand, whether you think you are or not, and people are judging you on your brand. So is your contact information updated? Is your branding on par? Males are guilty of this, but I see a lot more females guilty of this. Is your picture updated, or is it from the glamour shots from the mall from the 20 years ago, right? And you're looking at it, doesn't look like the same person. So, you want to make sure you're optimized. Basically, you're optimized both online, offline. Offline example would be, of course, any kind of print marketing you're doing. You want to be the mayor of your community. I have a lender I deal with out here, and this guy's like the mayor of Elmhurst, Illinois, man. Everybody knows this guy. He does a great job. That if somebody's thinking about refinancing or getting a mortgage, this guy is in the discussion. And that's what agents need to do, the same thing. Like if somebody doesn't hire you or they don't interview you, like the great song by Michael Jackson, I'm staring at the man in the mirror. You need to look in the mirror. Now, there are some things that you could have done and they still don't interview you, but you've increased your probability that you're at least in the discussion. And everybody knows a real estate agent. So what are you doing to differentiate yourself and to stay top of mind awareness?
I love all that. We call top of mind and awareness Mindshare, Michael, here on the Mindshare podcast. But no,
Hey, there you go.
but no, great points made, and you're absolutely right. I agree with you completely. Right? And it's that thing again that says, if you're not getting it, what were you not doing? I like the analogy there of the man in the mirror. What were you not doing? What did you not do? Right? How did you not connect with people potentially? But I want to rewind to one thing you just mentioned there about the photo. And if you see that business card or that ad or that thing that shows one person, and then you meet that person like in person, and they don't look the same, what does that do to credibility on the overall of just like your marketing? What's your 2 cents on that for a quick one?
I
Does it
don't
really
know. Like my,
matter?
my initial thoughts are they lack self-esteem. They don't like the way they look today versus what they looked before. That's how I look at it, but I could be wrong on this. Uh, I know I pluck gray hairs, so I like my hair 10 years ago, 5 years ago, pre-kids, and then currently, but I have current photos, right? And it's like
Yeah.
I feel like that's who you are, and that's, you got to be comfortable with who you are. You got to be comfortable with your story. Um, and So that's what I think. There's multiple answers there, but that's how I perceive it initially.
Yeah. Yeah. Now tell me about this. What about the importance of never mind just the consistent look, but consistency? You know, what role does it play? How do we keep up with it? Giving everything else that we have to do in a day. How hard is it to be consistent? But why is it so important to be consistent?
Yeah, I mean, so like 15, 20 years ago, blogging was really a big thing, right? And I was
Hmm.
on Active Rain, and I was trying to create content, and it was tough, right? And so if you went to my website and there was a big, huge gap between my last blog post and the current, that just doesn't look good. So consistency is is difficult. You have to be purposeful about it. You have to time block times in your week, your month, that like, hey, I have to produce X amount of videos. Or I just led a panel yesterday at a lunch and learn, and this agent is like me. He's got his podcast and he's doing video, and you have to block off time to do it. And so it might just be putting it in your Google Calendar, and you're blocking off this afternoon, or you're blocking off this day to produce content. And there's companies out there that can release the content, or you just have to be purposeful about it. But consistency is key. Whether it be a YouTube channel, like one of the things I teach agents is, you got Google's the number one search engine in the States. YouTube is number two. So you need to have a YouTube channel. It costs you $0, and you got to produce content. Well, what kind of content can I make? That's the next question people ask me. Well, that could be a very deep answer, but the simple answer is, who's your customer? And sometimes we overcomplicate things. Well, as a real estate agent, our customer is somebody that's buying a home or selling a home. Now, within a buyer could be an investor, or could be, a first-time buyer, a move-up buyer. Within a seller could be same categories. But to keep it really simple, we get paid with people buying a home, selling a home, or maybe renting a home, right? So I don't do rentals. I have team members do, but I don't put content out there for rentals, because you are what you attract, right? So if you put your message out there that you want rentals, you'll attract them. So I put messages out there for buyers and for sellers. I I create a lot of content for market updates as well. So, here we are in March, and March 2022 update, sellers update, buyers update, whatever it might be. But if an agent watching this, keep it really simple. If you produce one content educational video a month for tips for buyers for month of March, tips for sellers for the month of March, now you're at 2 videos, and maybe you do March market update. You have 3 content videos a month. At the end of a year, you'll have 12. You'll have 36. At the end of 2 years, 72. You'll have 108 after 3 years. 80 to 90% of real estate agents don't have a YouTube that they update regularly. So do you want to be in the 10 to 20% and attract more people, or do you want to be in the majority and not do anything else? So again, people are checking you out. They're Googling you. They're looking you up. They're making a decision whether you're likable and trustworthy, or you're knowledgeable. And that's the benefit of videos. People feel like they already know you before they even call you or text you or contact you on the website.
So, great points there on that front. And I think a big takeaway for everybody right there is number one, consistency, the magic ingredient to achieving anything you want in life. And to our regular listeners, who I thank you guys as always. You know that I say that a lot, right? And we hear that from a lot of different people. Michael just shared that as well, and also giving us some great examples right there, right? About if you're going to do something, be it blogging, be it video, be it social, be consistent about it. The more consistent you are, which in order to do so, we're going to really need to rely on the time blocking, right? The scheduling in
Yeah.
order to be, but once you do the time blocking, the scheduling, you commit to actually getting that done. And then you execute. Whether you get all of the views in the world that you want to, or you get total crickets, plan for the next one. And that's the difference. Because as Michael just said again, most agents are just not staying consistent with it, and they're going to fail at it, right? It's not going to do what they wanted it to do. And so, again, that's what most people do. And while you guys know at all times, what we're working for here with Mindshare is to help everybody not be most people.
Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned that you don't put content out for rentals because it's not the type of client maybe you're trying to attract. That being said, I wanted to ask you, right? What kind of properties are you focused on? Do you take any opportunity that comes your way? Do you focus on a specific niche? And are you all about luxury right now? Like, and I know that you do a ton of luxury. I want to get into that conversation, but I want
Yeah.
to kind of preface that and set the stage on what's your niche, what's your target there?
There's riches and niches, right? To use
Okay.
an analogy, if you're a marathon runner and you're training and you're spraining an ankle, do you go to the doc up the street that's a generalist, or do you go to a specialist, right? So generalists get paid, specialists get wealthy. So I do specialize in luxury. That's really what we focus on in our marketing, our branding. However, we work with everybody. So from time to time, we will produce content and videos, and we'll do a Facebook Live in front of a vacant home or an average priced home or an entry level home. And we remind people that we do big and small. We do, we don't just focus on luxury. We also do entry level or starter homes, or average price properties. We work with them. And so we do sprinkle in case studies and successes in those average price point properties as well, and we won't turn away business. So I had a $10.5 million listing last year, and it was from a guy that owns probably an entry level home, but he works out at a health club, and one of his clients owned this $10.5 million home, and he had seen some of the stuff I was doing, and you just don't know where your referrals are going to be. So treat everybody, with kindness, and you can't be all things to all people, but on the same token, you can have team members that you can refer business to, that maybe are the renters or the first time buyers. And, I refer out a lot of business, and I don't want to say cherry pick, but I do pick the deals that I want to work.
It's a nice way to do business, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great way to do business,
Now you got to build up to that. That doesn't just happen overnight. So let's say, I mean, we know that there's a ton of people that want to get into the luxury market. Obviously, with luxury, it goes without saying. When we talk about dollars, we talk about commissions earned. It's just a higher nut. It's just a bigger nut there. So that people want to get in for obvious reasons. Again, specific to dollars earned. But what's it really take to get into the luxury market? Like, where should people start?
So let's first off define luxury, because there's so many different definitions of luxury real estate. Certain brands define luxury real estate in the States as $1 million and above. Certain brands define it as top 10% for their market. For our course, as you mentioned in the introduction, I'm the founder of the Lux designation. I've written a lot of books, but Luxury Specialist is probably our luxury listing specialist. It's on Amazon. That's probably our most known book. And we try to break it down to teach agents that we believe that there's 4 primary price points in most markets. And those primary price points, the lowest price point is entry level or starter price point. In most markets have that. Then you have average price point. Every market's got the average price point, right? You talk to your multiple listing service, talk to your title companies, you can determine what the average sale price for your market is. The third price point, or bucket, I like to call them buckets. There's 4 primary buckets. The third bucket is what we define as high-end homes or high-end condos, right? And those are homes or condos that are 3 times the average sale price for that given market. And then the fourth bucket is what we call luxury. And luxury home or a luxury condo is a property that is 3 times the average sale price. So let's just keep it really simple. Let's just say in a market is $400,000, but maybe you might laugh at that in some markets. $400,000 is the average price point. Now, by the way, the average price point for a single family home is going to be different than a condo or a townhouse, but let's just use single family homes for this conversation. If the average price point is $400,000 for a house, a single family home, below that would be the starter or entry level. So, call it 350 to 450-ish, 3 to 500 range. There's no exact precise number, but that range would be kind of average, okay? Call it 350 to 450-ish. If we use 400 as the average price point in this example, David, 400 times 2, so in that 800, so maybe that's that 7 to 900 range, which would be called high end. Okay, we're getting high end is 2 times the average sale price, and we define luxury as 3 times the average sale price. So 400 times 3, or that 1-2 range is what we would call luxury. Now, so those are the 4 primary price points. 80% of all the homes in most marketplaces fall into those price points. Okay, not pictured there, not mentioned would be rentals, but even foreclosures or short sales would be in those buckets, right? They're entry level, foreclosure, high end, luxury, average. Now, if you were to say what's really the 5th bucket, if there was an existing bucket, that would be what I would call the ultra luxury, and that's what we call 10x that average sale price. So 400 times 10 is 4 million and above would be that ultra or that uber luxury.
Gotcha. Okay. And so again, it's that idea of first defining what luxury would be in your market. And it's interesting because I know flipping through your website, I'm seeing some spectacular properties that you guys have listed on there. And it in some cases blows me away at what the price points are, because again, when you come up to our market right now, there's a massive I
Discrepancy.
told you. I said this to you in that text message earlier. I go, hopefully I could speak better than I can type today. But the discrepancy between the price points and what you're getting for the value of, right?
Yeah.
And I know when we look at our market right now, I mean, we're seeing things go for, call it a lot of money that a year ago weren't going for as much money. And they were a lot more affordable and probably wouldn't have been maybe labeled as luxury. But then when you start to break it down in your math, the way you're using it, we're looking at even the $2 and $3 million range in some parts of the city being like not even close to what we call luxury anymore, based on what you just described.
Well, and that's why that's really the the long of the short of the answer is luxury. It's all relative to your market, right? Because 3 million won't get you much in Beverly Hills, but it will get you a castle in Davenport, Iowa, or maybe some rural areas, outside of Ontario. And so it's really all relative. And that's what the answer, that's why I share with you the buckets, because I did a training in Indiana a few years ago, and I had somebody attend, and she came up to me afterwards, say, I'm so excited I attended. I wanted to hear more about breaking into selling high-end and luxury homes, but I was hesitant because we don't have $1 million properties in this part of Indiana. And that's how our brokerage defines
I
luxury.
see.
And so the average price point in her market at the time, pre-pandemic, was $80,000. Now maybe it's 120 today or 150, but still, even 150 times 3 is 450. And she goes, we have a lot of 400s and 500s. We just don't have the 8s, 900,000s, and the million plus. So it's really all relative.
Okay. I really like that. Actually, that's a great one. I never actually, it didn't cross my mind to how do we define that? Because you're right. Where do we start? Let's define what luxury means first, right? So let's say we did that now, and I'm an agent. I'm tuned into this, and I got a better understanding of what that breakdown is. So the first step for me would be to go and look at those price points and figure out what is that essentially that fifth bucket, maybe that fourth to fifth bucket. I've now identified that. That's starting point number one. I'm going to kind of get into maybe an assumption here. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. Would the next step here then be to think about my branding as what we call a luxury agent? Right? Would that kind of be the next place to go, is to think to myself, like, what's my positioning? Um let me ask it a different way then,
I
maybe
would think that would be
without
the second. I think
okay.
that's going to be number 2. So
Yeah.
I think once you understand terminology,
Yep.
I mean, we're on the Mindshare podcast. It's the main thing after terminology is mindset. In other
I
words,
like it.
I
Okay.
can sell
Go for it.
luxury. I am luxury. Okay. So we have so many limiting beliefs or excuses built up on a daily basis. So the world tells us we can't do this, or I have to be licensed X amount of years before I sell luxury. I have to be with a certain brand before I sell luxury. I got to drive a certain car before I sell luxury. I got to live in one of those gated community homes before I can sell luxury. Or the worst one of them all is, I certainly can't be a luxury agent in my market because there's already blank number of luxury agents. I don't care if you told me 12, 87, 3,332. There's a room for 3,333 because nobody has your story. Nobody can tell your story. The house that's on the cover of my book right here, this was Architectural Digest, most beautiful home for sale in Illinois. It's still on the market. And when that seller interviewed me, I was the third agent. There's an old adage in real estate. You want to be the firstborn, the second wife, and the third real estate agent. Well, I was the third real estate agent in that one. Okay. And on that interview, the clients flat out asked me, how many homes have I sold in this town called Barrington Hills, Illinois? And I told him I haven't sold. By the way, so he interviewed me. He contacted me. I was
Yep.
referred to him through, and he contacted me. The home was still listed with the second agent. And so I met with them, and I told him I haven't sold any, but if you want an agent that's creative and outside the box and is aggressive, is a great negotiator, that's going to incorporate video, that's well connected to the high net worth individuals in the city where that might be where your buyer's moving out from, then I'm your guy. But if you want that local person, you're going to get the same results that you've got, right? And so again, I knew that my systems would work, and I knew my story, and my story was my strengths and what I bring to the table, as opposed to focusing on what I don't bring to the table.
I like that. And I mean, you guys, the audience, everybody tuned in right now, you can see why I like this guy so much. Mindset, Mike, you seriously, man, you brought up a great point there. The I can mentality. That's the first thing. I mean, or it's the second, based on what we just said from defining the market. That really is right up there. You got to believe. If you don't
You got to
believe, I mean,
believe,
just step back.
and the way you talk to yourself, like Lisa Hayes once says, be careful how you talk to yourself because you are listening. Okay. So there's reasons that defeated Goliath. I love sports, right? There's a reason we're in March Madness as we film this. College basketball is really big in the United States, March Madness. There's a reason that St. Mary's, a 15 seed, beat number 2 Kentucky, and now they're in the Sweet 16, the only 15 seed ever. Why? Because they believed it. Instead of I can beat Kentucky, I will beat Kentucky. And so there's a difference between even I can and I will. Okay. I will is speaking it, is visualizing, seeing that basket go through the ball go through the hoop, right? It's the movie Hoosiers, right? If you ever saw it with Gene Hackman, Hoosiers, it's a great movie. It's like Rudy. I love sports. It's such a great microcosm of life. Is you got to work hard. You got to believe in yourself. So the first step, besides understanding terminology, I teach agents grow your knowledge and your confidence will grow. Grow your knowledge and your confidence will grow. When they're more confident, David, they're more likely to step out of their comfort zone as an agent. When you're more confident, you might do some prospecting or lead generation or go on that appointment that you have no business on the surface of going on because you've never sold in that price point or in that marketplace, like I didn't, that cover on the house that's on my book. But I believed that I could sell it. I believed my systems were like the franchise systems. You go have a coffee or you go have an oatmeal at a McDonald's in Canada, it better taste the same as in Wheaton, Illinois, where I live, because they have a recipe, they have a system in place. There's a reason that most franchises, you have a higher probability of succeeding versus a independent small business. They have a higher probability of failing because of systems and processes. And so that's really key here. So, you got to grow your knowledge, like by watching and listening to podcasts and episodes like today, and what you're reading, who you're listening to. I tell agents, if you hang out with 9 top producers, you're bound to be the 10th. Zig Ziglar said, if you hang out with 9 dead broke people, you're bound to be the 10th, right? So who are you surrounding yourself? What are you listening to? There's people that pull down and there's people that pull you up. You want to be around people that bring out your best qualities. They're positive. They have lofty goals. And those are the type of people that you want to surround yourself with.
Great advice there. Absolutely. So let's say that I'm focused. I like what you're saying so far. I'm with you. I'm going to define that bracket. I'm going to get the mindset and believe, and I'm going to learn and educate myself. Let's talk about how an agent actually gets a luxury listing, which you've already started to embark on here. But I'm going to go down a few different roads here. First, we talked about believing in yourself. People think they have to have the car, the house, the fancy watch, the whatever. Is getting a luxury listing from a marketing perspective all about putting on the fancy watch, sitting in the fancy car in front of the fancy house and taking pictures of yourself and putting it out there? Is that what this thing's all about? Like, from a marketing perspective, what works and what doesn't? And let's look at it like this. I'm going to market myself as a luxury specialist. What are some things that I should be doing in my marketing that, as I market myself that way, will help me attract those luxury listings?
Well, we already talked about the mindset and the belief,
Yep.
right? You got to believe in yourself. But number 2, if you're going to position yourself as a high-end or luxury real estate agent, your branding's got to be on par, right? And clean, certain, I don't know if luxury is certain colors, but you do see a lot of navy blues, a lot of golds, a lot of whites, a lot of blacks, maybe some charcoal grays, but some clean, not too busy, clean, simple. That's number 1. Number 2 is I do believe, most people know return on investment as ROI, right? If you say, hey, what's the ROI on something? That's a return on investment.
Mm-hmm.
But the second type of ROI, if you will, using a math analogy, that ROI squared, the second type of ROI is return on impression. And what I mean by that is you're going to definitely get more likes and more comments and more views if you market or you do a Facebook Live or you do something at a luxury property. You're going to get a much more better return on impression than you will in the entry level. I use the Saturday Night Live. You guys watch Saturday Night Live back in the day with Chris Farley, right? And he talked about the van down by the river. My point is, if you did a selfie, you did a video, a Facebook Live, coming soon, of a van down by the river in a mobile home, you might get some great ROI on that to that niche. But if you're trying to increase your average sale price, which we teach agents, if you're trying to work smarter, not harder, which we teach agents, and you're trying to increase your overall volume of what you make at the end of the day, you want to, in a commission-based industry, you want to have an average sales price for whatever you do. If you sell photocopies for a living, if you sell the smaller photocopies and you get 2% of the photocopy sale versus a big mammoth photocopier, those big ones, you'll make more money. But I teach agents, you do want to diversify the portfolio of homes you represent. Just like if you won $20 million from the lottery, your financial advisor would tell you to diversify your earnings, have some low risk, have some high risk, have some long-term goal, some long-term investments, some short-term, and have some liquid cash. Same things with the homes that you represent, David. You want to diversify. So most agents specialize in the entry level or the average price point. And so I challenge agents to add some of those higher end and those luxury buckets, if you will, and maybe some of those ultra or uber luxury, because I do believe you'll get a better return on impression from those. You'll get more clicks, more likes, more interaction. I do believe in a top-down mentality. I think you'll get credibility if people are Googling and they're interviewing a bunch of agents. Okay. I do think you'll get a better return on impression from those price points.
Okay. So this is marketing yourself as the luxury specialist. What about now you've got the listing? You've happened to land it because you've defined it, you know where they are, so you know who your audience is. You've got the right mindset for what you're about to do. You've branded yourself accordingly because of the fact that you've leveraged some of those colors, some of the simplicity. You've leveraged some of the idea of what that picture of luxury really looks like in people's minds. Now you get that listing. You happen to land on at least one of them. What do we do now from a marketing the actual listing? And again, what's the difference between marketing a luxury listing versus marketing any listing? Is there any difference at all outside of the fact that this happens to be a luxury spot?
Yeah, so I want to answer that question, but before I do, um, Mir Khan had a great question. I want to answer that. How do you get your first one? So let's get,
Yeah.
There's some agents that are watching this that have a $0 budget and some that make a lot of money and they're willing to invest a little bit more in prospecting, lead gen, rebranding, that sort. I'm going to make the assumption that agents are on a lower price point or $0 budget for this answer. So what you can do as an agent is you can leverage other people's properties, OPP. There's a song in the 90s, you down with OPP. You can leverage other people's properties until you have your own. How can you leverage other people's properties? If David is the listing agent for an amazing property, and I know David not real well, but enough because he's at my same brokerage, and I know he's got young kids, and he probably doesn't want to work an open house on a Saturday or Sunday. What keeps David awake at night for his stale listing? A stale listing is a home that's been listed for a while with, in this case, David. What keeps David awake at night? What keeps David awake at night is, why isn't it selling? I got to keep my seller happy. Every time I hear from my seller, it's probably, why did my friend's home sell, but not mine? What are you doing to sell my home? You told me you were a great marketer, but it's not selling. Now, again, that seller should look in the mirror because they're probably overpriced and they probably didn't take David up on the suggestions David had, but it's never the consumer's fault, right? It's always our fault as the agent. So what I need to know what keeps David awake at night. So when I call David, I called Silver Platter Service. So I'm calling David. I already know David's most listened to radio station is WIIFM. All David cares about what's in it for him as a listing agent. The seller only cares about what's in it for them. Okay, so before I call David, I already know what's in it for David. So if we were to role play and David picks up the phone, ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, David, Michael LaFido from the office. How are you?
Doing well, Michael. How are you?
Good. I know you don't know me that well. We saw each other, back when we had company meetings before they were all virtual, but it's been a while. But hey, I'm calling you because you have this amazing property that you've been marketing for some time over at 123 Ontario Avenue.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, I don't know if, the sellers are on you about, hey, why isn't our house selling, or what are you doing that's different or not? Or I don't know if they'd be open to this, but if you're not open to hosting an open house for yourself because you have kids and you don't have the success. I am a newer agent, a younger agent. I'm aggressive. I'd love to market an open house for you. And more importantly, I'd love to put the time in to work that open house for you. And what's in it for you would be, you could check off a couple boxes, maybe get the seller off your rear end about why isn't the house selling. And I do know that these third-party websites, and off the cuff, you might mention those, you might not, but the third-party websites I'm talking about here in the States are Realtor.com, Redfin, Zillow, or maybe something similar. Those third-party websites, David, when you host an open house, a public open house on the Saturday or Sunday, you're going to get top placement. A lot of times they promote the listings in their network and their website that are hosting open houses. So you're going to be a lot of times above the fold, and you'll get more clicks and more views the week that you host an open house. So worst case scenario, David, if you say, Mike, I like the idea, let's roll with one, let's try one. Even if we don't get a ton of activity or get a buyer from it, you're going to get more clicks and more views, and you can go back to the seller and let them know that even if there isn't a whole lot of people, it's not a waste of everybody's time, because we're going to get a lot more activity. And it will help me because I might be able to bring you a buyer. That's why I want to do it. So again, it's a win-win. I'm all about win-win, Dave. So if it will check off some boxes to get the seller off your, you know what, great. If it helps you, great. Here's how it helps me. Here's how it helps the seller. It's a win-win-win. What do you say?
You know what? Let's sit down and talk about it. Sounds interesting, Michael. I'm interested to hear a little bit more about what you have to say. Why don't we grab a quick coffee?
Perfect. So it starts the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the one thing I didn't do there, which this is a little bit more advanced, but I would do the old takeaway close. So in other words, hey, David, I thought I'd give you a shot first at your listing on Ontario Avenue. I got a couple other calls I'm going to make after this, but I thought I'd start with you. And I just let you know that I got others, and I probably do have others if you say no to it. And so it's the old takeaway close. The other thing you can do is if David is doing a broker open house, and I don't know if they're doing those in Canada, but in the States they are, and that's one I have, just like you. This is 173rd podcast. I think we're doing about our 170th podcast ourselves. It's called Luxury Listing Specialist, David. It's on iTunes, Spotify. You guys can check it out, Luxury Listing Specialist. But on my 60-something episode, I had a guy on from Miami, and that's how he broke into luxury. Is he attended other people's broker open houses pretty much weekly. He would get their permission ahead of time, and he would take some photos and maybe do a Facebook Live or do a TikTok nowadays. They didn't have TikTok when, maybe they did back then, but TikTok, Instagram, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Reels, Instagram Reels, and you could leverage that with other people's listings until you have your own. I hope that answered that, Mr. Khan.
Yeah, no, great stuff there. It looks like, and Mir's in our private chat there, tuned in with our Mindshare Masters VIP room. Looks like that was a good one. We got another one here that came out from another Mindshare Masters, watching from the other side here. But she had asked here on Facebook, how do you market a luxury listing that's exclusive?
Yeah, great question. So by exclusive, are you meaning private? So in the States, we have called the PLN network, the private network. In other words, the seller doesn't want it out there on the websites.
Right. That's exactly it, right? It's not out there. It's not on the MLS. You can't find it, or you couldn't go to like a Realtor.com, Realtor.ca and find that. It's nowhere.
So you got to have your own databases, Mariana, database of high net worth individuals, of potential buyers, as well as top agents that you can have these conversations with. Hopefully you have some kind of signed agreement. In other words, they can't backdoor you, where if you're talking to other agents, if you're talking to buyers, even if they say, oh, I know the seller, I'm going to talk to them, you're protected. Hopefully that's the case, right? That's always the elephant in the room, like the hotels.com commercial, is you're always worried about people backdooring you. So you always want to make sure you're protected. I just had literally today an agent contact me, say, hey, do I have any listings coming up in the $1.5 million price point? And I do have a neighbor of mine that would consider selling. So I went to the seller, because I've shown the home privately before to a buyer. In that case, they would pay a certain fee. But in this case, there's another agent involved. So I went to the seller and said, hey, listen, I have somebody that's working with a buyer that's interested. Because there would be two agents involved, my fee would be X. Would you allow a showing? Because the previous showing I had, there was no other agent. And so because it was off market and I really wanted this buyer, I was only charging him a certain a reduced fee in that case because there was one agent. In this case, there's two. So I want to make sure I'm compensated. So cover yourself, make sure you're compensated, but building a huge database, building relationships, not just locally, but to your migration cities, your feeder markets. Chicago, we got a lot more people leaving Chicago because of high taxes, masks, and everything else, and Vax cards. And so I know where people are moving to. And so I have relationships in Tennessee, in Texas, in Florida, in the Carolinas, in Arizona, in those areas that people are moving to, because if I had an upcoming listing, okay, that would be something that I would want to know who my buyers are moving in and who my particular buyers are. If I had a buyer that was, I had a seller that was buying somewhere else, I would be reaching out to my migration, to people where they're moving to, and connect them and get a referral fee.
I like that. And that comes right back to the idea around having your database, right? And I mean, I think that's a big takeaway. And I mean, it's amazing how so much of this always comes right back to that. And I think everybody's kind of smiling right now and going, Dave, you keep saying that. I'm like, yeah, but like, I mean, so does everybody else, and that's a big deal. Now, Mike, tell me the difference between high caliber marketing and traditional marketing, because that's something that I read off in your bio, and I like that. I'm like, no, I want to know more. What does he mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, so high caliber marketing, and let me grab, I'm a show and tell person. By the way, we are in a show and tell industry, right? We are visual. If you think about social media, people, if they're on Facebook, if I were to pull up my Facebook feed, or LinkedIn, people are scrolling, right? They're scrolling, they're scrolling. And most of the time people are on mute by nature. And so if you're on mute, you got to get people's attention so much that they click on it to unmute you, right? So high caliber marketing, for example, is, when most agents show up on a listing appointment with their iPad or their Kindle or their laptop, one of the things that we do is, and for a lot of our live events, our live designation events, we include this. It's a video book. It's got a 10-inch monitor.
Oh,
You
yeah,
open
I've
up the
seen those.
monitor.
Very cool.
There's a nice image there. You can upload a personal message from myself there. Hey, Josh, Michael. I could. So, like, literally, you have all these. So this is a way to totally differentiate yourself. And so that's high caliber. So traditional marketing is basically what everybody else does. Okay. So I'm a big believer. If everybody goes left, you go right. If everybody shows up a certain way or brings certain things to the appointment, I try to differentiate myself. There's a book out there from Jack Trout, Differentiate or Die. I've heard terms differentiate or charge less. If you want to position yourself as a leading authority, as a rock star agent, as a luxury specialist, you have to offer not only better service, better quality service, but you got to differentiate your deliverables as well.
Getting into luxury, is this whole thing about chasing online leads and being the big social media guru, or is this more about the rubbing shoulders and schmoozing with the right people? And we continue to come back to this idea of contact list. Is this an online lead chase, social media ad kind of thing, or is this you got to know the network, build up the network, and rub shoulders with the right people?
I would say if you were to pick one or the other, it's definitely you got to know the right people. It's
Okay.
it's a private, more trust-based marketing, right? It's the circle of trust from Meet the Parents with Robert De Niro. This is like the circle of trust. It's very difficult to penetrate the circle of trust, right? And so I do feel like there can be some lead gen and prospecting, right? You got cold marketing is prospecting, lead gen, and you have warm marketing is your database, your sphere, people that know you, like you, trust you. Luxury is definitely more warm marketing. Could you break into luxury? I mean, when I broke into luxury originally, it was canceled and expireds and for sale by owners. And again, you talk about high caliber marketing with canceled and expireds versus everybody else. So, when a Keller Williams Bold class was released and that home came off the market as a canceled or expired, they got 50 phone calls from Keller Williams agents. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is not a knock at KW and Bold. It's a great class. But they might have got 10 mailers in the physical mailbox. Out of those 10 mailers, 80% of them, 8 out of 10 were the traditional, hi, my name is David Greenspan, give me a call. We'd love to market your home. 80%, maybe 20% were different, were unique, stood out. Okay. Most sent one, maybe two mailers. I mean, I would literally send silver platters, and I would send bank bags in the mail and differentiate. And I didn't care what people thought. My job was to grab their attention. That's the first rule of thumb of marketing. Okay. And engage them. And I would send 5 to 7 mailers over weeks at time. Uh, and I know what a client was worth to me, and I would be willing to cheerfully willing to spend that to get a new client, right? And so that's how I would attract high-end and luxury properties.
What a good point right there when it comes to marketing, right? You knew the worth, and forgive me, I'm not even going to say it back the way you just said it, but you knew the worth of what that was worth to you. So it's like based on the marketing, you're trying to get this high ticket, go with high ticket or high caliber marketing, and that's going to differentiate you and again help you build the mind share and make you stand out with people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great points there, man. So now listen, I mean, again, going into the marketing conversation, you and I could just keep rocking on this, but you did create a designation called Lux.
Lux for short, correct.
Lux for short, pardon me. Please tell us more about that briefly, just so that everybody who is interested in learning more and who's kind of tuned into you today going like, this guy's got some great ideas, some great feedback, great learning. I want to learn more. Let's tell them more about this for a moment. Just bring some light to that,
so we created Lux Luxury Listing Specialist 6 years ago. We teach it on demand. In other words, people can go to luxurylistingspecialist.com, they plop down their money. It's US dollars based, right? It's 597 US dollars to get the basic level. And with that, you'll get 16 modules, 10 and a half hours of video training. We have zero requirements to take our course to get certified in luxury. In other words, you could be a newer agent or never sold a luxury home. We want to position you and we want to put you in a position for success versus some of the others out there. Hey, go sell a couple and then we'll let you take our course. No, I want you to be successful today. So it's an on-demand online training. We do live trainings as well. We've done 2 live in person in 2022. We did one in Denver. We did one just outside of San Antonio. We're doing one in Miami in April and one in Chicago in May. But it's basically 16 modules. The first 7 modules are all about positioning and ways to attract opportunities and listing appointments and buyers. And modules 8 through 16 are best strategies to leverage your successes, whether you represented a buyer or seller. Your best strategies to market your home, right? You got this listing, now what? How are you going to market it? How are you going to position it? What are best practices? So that's what we teach. And it's 597 US dollars. And you get access to our Facebook group. You get access to us. We do live events, live trainings. And
where can people get that?
LuxuryListingSpecialist.com, Luxury Listing Specialist. And for those of you that are watching that like travel and you would want to go to an in-person event, I'd probably recommend our in-person Chicago event in May, and that's just LuxuryDesignation.com, Luxury Designation. And for that event in Chicago, they'll get that video brochure. They'll get it. So for our live events, people physically walk away with workbooks, our book, the Chicago one, we're giving away our video brochure. We usually do a mansion tour. So that event's May 12th and the 13th, and we will tour some mansions. And so that's a little bit about our course. And we've taught agents from boutiques to top franchises. We've taught it up in Canada. Remax Integra had us at headquarters in Mississauga.
I was going to say the stuff you're doing, it is applicable up here.
It's
right. I know. I'm right.
All across the world. We helped Keller Williams launch their Mexico luxury division. So it's only in English, okay, right now, but it applies to all price points, to all brands, to all brokerages. I've had Sotheby agents, I've had Compass, I've had Douglas Elliman. You name the brand, they've taken our course. Chances are, they've asked me to contribute. I got a Realogy brand right now that wants me to help them launch a luxury course. So
very cool, man. Well, I'll tell everybody. Michael and I were connected through some mutual people in the network. We're in the industry. Had the good fortune of bumping into each other in Atlanta, and certainly I think hit it off the moment we shook hands, which was cool. So it's been an absolute pleasure having you here today. I got just a couple last questions for you. One, how do you know it's been a successful day for you?
Man, that's a good question. I personally need to smell the roses and slow down a little bit and be more appreciative. I'm so driven. That's the athlete side of me, right? I've run 11 marathons. I was a scholarship athlete. I've always been kind of a overachiever, and so when is enough enough, right? When that's something that I think a lot of successful CEO type individuals struggle with. So uh, I have three beautiful kids and a beautiful wife, and um, anytime I could hang out with them and have some meaningful time, and that is a success. So I got to do more of that. We're going on spring break next week in Florida. We're going to have some great time alone, and being able to provide for your family and give them memories, and not just physical things, but memories and time that I didn't have, that to me, that I wanted, that my friends had. Like, I never went on spring breaks. I never did those things. Um, that is success. But anytime you're healthy, and what's going on in Europe right now, in Russia and Ukraine, it puts a big perspective on things. And I'm all about freedom. I want to do what's best for my family. I'm a mask optional guy, and I have nothing against anybody that wants to wear a mask. But I shared that even during that, it put things in perspective. Like, even when I had to wear a mask, or when I still have to wear a mask on a plane, it could be a lot worse, right? So a successful day is to be able to freely go around your day, not worry about the government overreaching, and just freedom. It's an amazing thing that we have a great country, even if, sometimes our elections were interfered, or maybe aren't the results that people think they really are. We still have the best country. Like I say, our country's so great, our haters won't even leave.
Give me some final words or tips for everybody to get out there, grow their brand, get into maybe luxury, build the mind share around the luxury mindset and the fact that they're able to do that, so they can get more market share when it comes to that specific niche as well. Some final
Yeah, we
words.
we have a lot of free resources. So if they go to joinluxgroup.com, join Lux Group, LUXE group, GROUP, join Lux Group. The top link is our Luxury Fridays. Every Friday, unless I'm traveling, we do a live stream just on the same platform that you're using here, David. We push it out to a lot of people. And it's a great way for people to interact and ask questions. I can bring them on camera. We stream it live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, uh, Instagram. I'm doing it with my mobile phone, and that's a great way for people to stay in contact with us, and continue to grow their knowledge, and their confidence will grow. And that's key. Grow the knowledge. Your confidence will grow. When you're more confident, you're more likely to step out of your comfort zone. When you're more likely to step out of your comfort zone, you might do some lead gen or some prospecting, or maybe you're an introvert and you'll go to that networking event that you normally wouldn't do. But you got to be hungry enough. You got to have those reminders of your goals and your why. What's your why? What's your big goal? Okay. And your goals should draw you, should be like a magnet and pull you towards opportunities, because you're so focused on that. And I have visual reminders, behind me. Prove them wrong is a big mantra of mine. And um, and so that's something that I'll leave your audience with: is have clear goals, have visual reminders of your goals. And if something distracts you, I get asked a lot of time to speak or to contribute or do this, do that. And you got to say, how is this helping me towards my goal? Now, sometimes you want to be unselfish and give back, even if it's not helping your goal. I do believe you should be in masterminds or groups to help others more so than it helps you, but you also want to be plugged into groups that help you. So you definitely want to give back. I do believe that money freedom equals time freedom, equals relationship freedom, equals location freedom. So when I talk about increasing your average sale price as an agent, when I talk about working smarter, not harder, when I talk about making more money selling the same number of homes, I don't believe money is the root of all evil. I believe you can do a lot of things if you're more successful financially. You can give back. You can have your philanthropical donations. And so that's what I mean by money freedom equals time freedom, equals relationship freedom, because you can bring on an admin assistant. I'm going to probably be bringing on a second, and equals location freedom. You can do this from your office or from a beach or someplace else.
Well, hopefully you'll continue to do this in Florida with the family, and next week I believe it is. And I thank you very very much for all the time you spent with us today, all of the insight. I want to encourage everybody to visit luxurylistingspecialist.com as well as joinluxgroup.com to find Michael. Definitely connect with him online on Instagram. Go to his website, go to his Facebook. Connect with this guy. Like I said, from the moment that we met, we definitely hit it off. Like-minded personalities. Love the marketing talk, man. You spent some amazing time sharing some valuable insights today. So I want to say a very big thank you to you, Mike.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate what you're doing for the industry.
Thank you, my friend. Be right back with you. You are either watching us live, you are watching this recording, you are listening to this on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. Maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. And while you're on my site, make sure to download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle for Realtors. This is a 31-page ebook. It is free. It is packed with a number of tips and tricks to help you build a lot more mind share so you can get more market share. And of course, it's got a 90-day social media content calendar in there to help you with the mind share side of, well, your social media world. Also, if you want to talk about personalized one-to-one coaching to help you get to your next level, get in touch with my team. Send an email to info@mindshare101.com. Connect with my team. Just let them know you want to set up a free strategy call. Again, a free strategy call. And we will get on the line. We will figure out what you're looking to achieve and how well we are going to help you do just that. Also, don't forget that our push to 100 is on. So for everybody, please take a quick moment in about 2 moments to go to ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. Again, it's ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. Again, a big 5 stars, 6 if they have them. A nice little review about the show, and of course our amazing guests. And yeah, I'd be very, very grateful if you took a moment to do so. And of course, if we haven't yet connected on Facebook, it's Mindshare 101. On Instagram, it's David Greenspan 101. I'm going to take a quick moment here as well to thank Virginia Munden and the Buzz Conference for sponsoring today's episode. Be sure to visit their website, www.thebuzzconference.com. I cannot guarantee that they got tickets left for next week's event, Recharge 2022, a live in-person event. I encourage you, join us. I'm going to be there live on stage as well. So I look forward to seeing you and, networking with everybody. It's just super, super, super pumped. I also want to thank Kids Keep in Touch Systems for sponsoring today's episode. If you haven't checked us out yet, just go to my website, mindshare101.com, and click on marketing. This has been another episode of the Mindshare podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be right back.